everybody, and welcome to the Parent Whisperer podcast. I'm Richard Ramos, your host. Today, I'm going to do something a little different. As I want to talk to you, all of you. I appreciate you, those of you who listen, those of you who subscribe, and I just want to talk a little bit about where my heart and mind is going, and some things I want to share. I want to talk about exposure, education, and parental awareness. There's just a lot of things that are going on. I'm sure we all kind of know there's a lot going on, and what it comes down to, though, for me, is just how does it affect us as individuals, as parents, our families, our children. And well, it affects us in a big way. And so I believe you, mom and dad, as you've heard me say many times, not only are you the number one asset and most important person in the community, but the most important person in your children's life and in the best position to influence them, especially when they're, little babies and then growing up with you all the time that they're home with you. So I'm a curious guy. I study all kinds of things. I've been studying a lot of things for a long time. I study politics, geopolitics. I study spirituality and biblical prophecy. I study about education, pharmaceutical medicine. I mean, just the different things that I feel are having, in our everyday life, and especially since COVID, that's changed the world. Changed a lot of things, just the way we're living every day. There is definitely a major reset happening right now, especially with the war and the closing of the Strait of Hormuz, of what's going on over there in Iran. And so now the oil not getting through. And the other thing that people don't realize is the fertilizer. That's slowing down the transportation of what's needed to make fertilizer. Why is that important? Because farmers need it, the food. Now, you're not feeling it today, but if whatever's going to go on over there, if that just keeps happening and that production slows down, well, we see the prices, what's happening with the prices, with oil, with gas. And just recently, it was announced that the Emirates, which, I'm not going to get into all the details, but the Emirate part of the OPEC oil cabal, basically all the 5 countries over there in the Middle East that control the oil production. Well, there was a deal made long time ago with the United States and the Arab country that if you wanted to buy oil, you had to have US dollars. That's why we have been able to be in debt for so long, because we can just keep printing money, because the world, it depends on energy, obviously. Energy is a huge thing, and most of it is coming from the Middle East. And now, because they pulled out of OPEC, now they are setting up their own private organization. And maybe I'll come back and explain this more. I'm just giving you an example. But so now people don't have to use the US dollars as a reserve currency, which we have been since World War II. They can buy it with what basically is a digital cryptocurrency that's owned by Trump and others that are part of this company, but it's a private company. It doesn't answer to anybody. It's not elected. There's no government behind it. It's just a private company, like any private company. And so now that's a huge reset. That's changing geopolitics. So that's the kind of stuff I'm talking about. So that's a whole bigger issue than what I want to talk about today. But I been struggling with this because, this information is not easy to swallow. It's not easy to hear. It's not easy to even believe. And for that reason, a lot of people they don't want to know the truth. They don't want to hear it. I don't want to know. I don't want to know. You'd rather bury your head in the sand and it's a lot easier if you don't know. You could remain ignorant. What do they say? Ignorance is bliss. And that's true because the ugliness, the fear, the sadness, the anger, the frustration, the outrage, when you finally start understanding what is going on, what is really going on. Now, I'm not saying I understand it all. Don't get me wrong. And don't believe what I say. You shouldn't believe what anybody says, especially the news and the government and big business. I mean, I think by now you know that all they do is lie. It's just lie after lie after lie and deny and lie and deny and lie. Even when it's on video, deny it and lie, and that's what they do. So you shouldn't believe anybody, me included. What's important is the information that you have at your disposal, especially now with the internet and all this information. Um, but not everybody has the time or the inclination. I understand that to study and research and read these things. So I get that. But when you do know, then you have an obligation to speak out. And then we know what happens with those people. They're shut down by the internet, by YouTube, by Facebook, and we found out that the government is the one that forced those platforms, TikTok and Facebook and all, to cut off people that were speaking against what was going on with COVID, with the vaccinations, or anything that they don't want the truth to come out. And then they call you conspiracy theorists, and, oh, you're crazy. Oh my God, another conspiracy theorist. Well, but now, what happened when the Epstein files came out? What happened? Now, proof that so many of these conspiracy theories that they said were conspiracy theories were not. They're fact. They're true. It's happening. And just the whole thing with child trafficking, the whole mess with drug traffic, child trafficking, and that the United States and the military is the biggest offender of that, which most people wouldn't want to hear, don't believe, and don't know. But that is the truth. What's going on with child trafficking and just the whole deal, man. It's really it's crazy. So I don't mind being called a conspiracy theorist because I know that not every theory is a conspiracy and not every conspiracy is a theory because they're facts. So many, not every single theory, but so many of them are now being shown. People are second guessing themselves and saying, man, I guess that is true. So, that's the kind of stuff that gives me pause. It gives anybody pause because it takes, a little courage to say, no, you know what? I'm going to speak out on this. But what's the motive? What's my motive? Why do I want to do this? Well, because I care. I care about children. I care about families. That's why I do Parents on a Mission and Youth on a Mission. That's what my website is all about. That's what my books are all about. Helping families, helping people. So I just wanted to explain myself a little bit, and I know I'm just kind of rambling here, but if you, my podcasts are not scripted. I'm just speaking from my heart. I don't have a script. I mean, sometimes I have notes because I want to make sure that I, cover certain things and I have notes. But for the most part, I'm just having a conversation with you, heart to heart. I want to let you know where I'm coming from, and then we'll see what happens. Um, uh, so one of the things I have here, to give you an example, I'm going to give you two examples, okay? This right here, this book, you can see it, the Pfizer papers, um, Pfizer's Crimes Against Humanity. This book was put together by a woman, Naomi Wolf, and a bunch of people that helped her. And what it has is all the scientific study and results that Pfizer did in testing their vaccine. They knew it didn't work. Not only that, they knew it was detrimental. Before they ever used, they lied to the FDA. Then they bought off the FDA, the people that approve the drugs that are put on the market. It's all in here. They knew and that it was ineffective. But what did they tell us? Oh, all you do, just get the jab, get the shot, and you'll be fine. Well, we all know by now that that was a lie. It didn't happen. I'm just going to read a little bit of this to you, and I'm not going to read it all. Some of it because all of it, and some of it because it's awful. Okay. The Pfizer Papers is a result of a group of strangers, ordinary people with extraordinary skills, located in different places around the world with different backgrounds and interests, who all came together for no money or professional recompense at all, out of the goodness of their hearts and motivated by love for true medicine and true science, to undertake a rigorous, painfully detailed, and complex research project which spanned the years of 2022 to the present and which continues to this day. The material they read through and analyzed involved 450,000 pages of documents, all written in extremely dense technical knowledge. Let's see what else. So, talking about these part of her team, one of them was called Miss Kelly. In the 2 years since Miss Kelly and the volunteers had been working together, they have gone through 2,360 documents and data files totaling hundreds of thousands of pages and have issued almost 100 reports. We learned that Pfizer knew within 3 months after rollout in December 2020 that the vaccines did not work to stop COVID. That's what's all in here. The reports that Pfizer knew. And so there was a lawsuit. Well, let me just read these other ones. Pfizer knew by April 2021 that injections damaged the hearts of young people. That's for you, Mom and Dad. Pfizer knew by February 28, 2021, that its injection was linked to a myriad of adverse events. These side effects included death, which Pfizer does list as a serious adverse event. Indeed, 1,233 deaths in the first 3 months of the drug being publicly available, but nobody knew about it until now. By the time Pfizer's vaccine rolled out to the public, the pharmaceutical giant knew that they would be killing babies and significantly harming women and men's reproduction. So, I'm telling you, this stuff is hard to, as she says here, unearthing this criminal evidence is painful indeed, but the truth must be told. And I agree with her. And then she talked in here about how there was a lawsuit brought, and Pfizer asked the judge not to release these papers for 75 years. Now, why would they do that when the people that were infected would no longer be alive? So why would they ask for that? Thankfully, the judge did not do that. And that's why this report is here with all the evidence here that Pfizer knew before the vaccine, during the vaccine, and to this day. And that's just Pfizer. We're not talking about Moderna and Johnson and Johnson. And we all know that the COVID shot did not work. We all know that. And yet we were shut down and made to well, I people chose not to, but we were pretty much shamed. A lot of shaming went on if you didn't take the shot. And how many families still don't talk to each other because of deciding some family members not to be vaccinated? Not let alone talking about what happened in hospitals. You get the point. Yeah, and then yeah, she just goes on and on about how many organizations, the top government organizations, tried to stop this from coming out. All right, secondly, alert 2030 psychological agenda obedience training for pre-K to adults, already global with billions in funding for full control. This is by a woman, Corey Lynn. She's part of the Solari organization I talked about. Catherine Austin Fitz, that's her organization. She used to work for the Department of Health and Human Services. She was raised in the banking industry family, and she does a great job of exposing what's going on with the Treasury Department, with money, basically, and that's who Catherine Austin Fitz is. So much to say about her, but this is a woman that works in her organization, and she's talking about the globalist people like in the World Economic Forum, something you should pay attention to, and their agenda by the year 2030, which is what, 4 years, 3.5 years away? I'll just read, and this is education. I'll just read this one paragraph. The magnitude of the agenda being exposed in this report is so astounding, so expansive, and so detrimental to the entire global population that I feel it is necessary for me to introduce it in the first person before rolling out the chapters. Time is of the essence, so it is vital that this information reach all ends of the globe as quickly as possible. This is about a mind control, obedience training, and brainwashing operation that the globalists have been working on for a couple of decades and began implementing it full speed in 2016. With the exception of a small number of people touching on a fraction of the overall agenda, they have been rolling out their master plan while distracting us with small, much smaller battles. This is about the psychological culling of the population to bring everyone into the 2030 agenda with one mindset and level of obedience that is tracked, controlled, and being scored, and it's all being disguised as a pre-K to 12 years old school embedded program that includes the parents' involvement in a lifelong journey of learning for all under the new global citizenship, including adults. What do you think about that? So, as I said, this podcast today, this episode is about exposure, education, and parental awareness. But I'm not going to do this every episode. Like I said, my main thing is teaching on the parent-child relationship, step parenting, those kinds of things. That's really what's most important. But from time to time, I just wanted to explain that if you hear me going into some of these subjects, some of these topics that are a little wider, broader, and deeper than the stuff I normally talk about, I wanted to tell you why. I was going to create another channel. I think maybe I said this already. I thought maybe I'll just create a different channel than the Parent Whisperer podcast and use that channel to speak on these issues. But Then I thought, why should I do that? This is who I am. And for those of you who know me, you know where I'm coming from. And those of you who do not know me, I pray that you'll just hear me out. And again, you don't have to believe anything I say. Please do your own research, do your own reading. I gave you the names of where I got this report. This is not even the full report. I mean, most of it is it right here, but I've been reading it, and I think parents, you need to know what's going on in the school. It's called social emotional learning, not math, reading and writing and how to do research and, the education that helps our children function in life and get ahead, become an entrepreneur and, be an individual that, is doing well on their own. That's not what they want. That's not what the public education system is about and has not been for many years, for decades. So I hope you will hear my heart, know where I'm coming from. I'm Richard Ramos. You've been listening to the Parent Whisperer podcast. I would really appreciate if you will like these videos, subscribe to the videos, and then share them with your friends and your family members who you believe would be interested in the things that I talk about on this podcast. So let me leave you like I always do, Mom and Dad. Parents on a Mission is not for bad parents. It's for good parents who want to get better. Thanks for listening. See you next time.